The massive alien ship moved through Earth's solar system like a crystal mountain floating in space. Commander HFY stood on the bridge, his tall crystalline body catching the light from distant stars. His forearms moved across control panels while his large eyes studied the blue planet ahead. "Another primitive world," he said to his science officer. "The humans only learned to travel between stars 50 years ago. They are like children compared to us." The Veltar had been exploring space for over 10,000 years. They had seen many worlds and many species. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Council, and everyone thought they were weak and simple. Their technology was basic. Their ships were slow and clunky. They needed help from older species just to leave their own planet. "Begin the standard survey," HFY ordered. "Check their oceans for resources. Document everything. The Council wants to know what this world can offer." The survey team got to work. They sent small ships down to Earth's surface and into the deep oceans. Their scanners could see through water and rock. They could find metals, rare elements, and anything valuable hidden beneath the surface. Dr. Kethla, the chief science officer, worked at her station. Her purple crystalline skin glowed as she focused on the data coming from the ocean scanners. For hours, everything looked normal. Fish, plants, rock formations, and the usual things found in primitive world oceans. Then something appeared on her screen that made her freeze. "Commander," she called out, her voice shaking slightly. "You need to see this." HFY walked over to her station. On the screen was an image from the deep ocean floor. But this was not rock or sand. This was something else entirely. The structure was huge. It stretched for miles across the ocean floor, covered by thousands of years of sand and sea growth. But even through all that, they could see it was not natural. The lines were too straight. The angles were too perfect. The design was too complex. "What is that?" HFY asked. "I don't know," Kethla replied, "but it's definitely artificial. Something built this. And look at this." She pointed to other areas of her screen. "There are more of them, many more. This whole area of the ocean floor has these structures." HFY stared at the images. The structures looked like buildings, but they were enormous. Some were as tall as mountains. Others stretched for miles in perfect geometric patterns. Whatever built these things had technology far beyond what they expected to find on Earth. "Run deeper scans," he ordered. "I want to know everything about these structures." The deeper scans revealed even more shocking information. The buildings were not just rock or metal. They were made from materials that the Veltar scanners could barely identify. Crystalline composites that seemed to bend light, metal alloys that should not exist on a primitive world, and strangest of all, many of the structures still had power running through them. "Commander," another officer called out, "I'm reading active energy signatures from multiple locations. These structures are not dead ruins. Something down there is still working." HFY felt a chill run through his crystalline body. This was not possible. According to all their records, humans had never built anything like this. They were a young species that had only recently learned to work metal. They had no space technology until other species helped them. They had never shown any signs of advanced engineering or science. "Send a probe down for closer examination," he ordered. The probe descended through 2 miles of ocean water. As it got closer to the structures, its cameras revealed details that made the entire bridge crew gasp. The buildings were not just advanced, they were beautiful. Towers that spiraled up from the ocean floor like frozen tornadoes. Domes that seemed to glow with their own inner light. Connecting bridges that looked like they were made from solid starlight. And everywhere there were symbols and writing carved into the surfaces. The writing was not like anything in their databases, but it had a strange familiarity to it. Some of the symbols looked almost like the primitive writing that modern humans used. "Get me a communication link to the human representative," HFY ordered. "Now!" Within minutes, the face of Dr. Sarah Chen appeared on the bridge's main screen. She was a small human woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes. She worked as Earth's liaison to the Galactic Council. "Commander HFY," she said with a smile. "How can I help you today?" "Dr. Chen," HFY said, his voice stern. "We need to discuss something very serious. We have discovered structures on your ocean floor. Very advanced structures. Structures that violate first contact protocols." Dr. Chen's expression did not change. She continued to smile calmly. "What structures are you referring to, Commander?" "Do not play games with me," HFY said, his forearms moving in an agitated pattern. "We have found a hidden colony beneath your oceans. Technology that is far beyond what your species should possess. You were supposed to report all technological capabilities when you joined the council. I think there might be some confusion, Dr. Chen said. Could you show me what you've found? SciFi ordered his crew to send the images to Dr. Chen's ship. As she looked at the pictures of the underwater structures, her expression finally changed. But instead of looking worried or guilty, she looked fascinated. Oh my, she said softly. You found it. After all these years, someone finally found it. Found what? SciFi demanded. Atlantis, Dr. Chen said simply. The word meant nothing to the alien crew. SciFi looked at his officers, but they all showed the same confusion. Explain, SciFi ordered. Atlantis is a legendary city from our ancient history, Dr. Chen said. According to our old stories, it was a great civilization that existed thousands of years ago. Most humans thought it was just a myth, a story that our ancestors made up. A myth? Kethla spoke up from her station. Commander, these structures are definitely real. And they are definitely advanced. Far more advanced than anything humans should be able to build. Dr. Chen nodded. If you've really found Atlantis, then it seems our ancestors were capable of much more than we thought. SciFi felt anger rising in his crystalline chest. Dr. Chen, these structures show technology that rivals our own. Some aspects appear to be superior to Galactic Council standards. You expect us to believe that your primitive ancestors built this without any outside help. Commander, Dr. Chen said calmly, I think we need to organize a joint expedition to examine these structures together. I'm as curious about this discovery as you are. Maybe working together we can figure out what really happened down there. SciFi stared at the human woman on his screen. Either she was the best liar he had ever encountered, or she was telling the truth about not knowing these structures existed. Both possibilities worried him. Very well, he said finally. Prepare your best scientists and historians. We will investigate these structures together. But Dr. Chen, if we discover that humanity has been hiding advanced technology from the Council, there will be serious consequences. I understand completely, Commander, Dr. Chen replied. I'll have a team ready within 12 hours. And Commander, thank you for making this discovery. If this really is Atlantis, then you've just solved one of humanity's greatest mysteries. After the communication ended, SciFi turned to his crew. Double our security protocols. And send a priority message to the Council. Tell them we may have discovered a hidden human colony with advanced technology. Tell them to be prepared for anything. As his crew worked, SciFi stared down at the blue planet below. Something was not right about this situation. The human woman had been too calm, too unsurprised by their discovery, and those structures down there in the dark ocean depths looked like they had been waiting for someone to find them. He had a feeling that this discovery was going to change everything. Dr. Sarah Chen's ship docked with the Veltar survey vessel exactly 12 hours later. SciFi watched through the observation windows as the human shuttle approached. It looked so simple and crude compared to his own ship's elegant design. Yet down in Earth's oceans lay structures that challenged everything he thought he knew about human capabilities. The human team that came aboard was small, only 5 people. Dr. Chen led them, along with 2 archaeologists, a historian, and a deep-sea specialist. They looked so tiny and fragile walking through the corridors of the alien ship. Their equipment was basic compared to Veltar technology, but they carried themselves with quiet confidence. Commander SciFi, Dr. Chen said as she entered the bridge, thank you for allowing us to participate in this investigation. My team is very excited to see what you've discovered. Dr. Chen, SciFi replied, before we proceed, I need answers. Our preliminary scans show these structures are at least 12,000 years old. According to our records, humans were still primitive hunters at that time. They had not even developed agriculture. How do you explain this contradiction? Dr. Chen looked at the images on the bridge's main screen. The underwater structures glowed with their own inner light, even after thousands of years beneath the ocean. She was quiet for a long moment, studying the details. Professor Williams, she said to the elderly historian in her group, what do our oldest records say about Atlantis? Professor Williams stepped forward. He was a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. According to Plato's writings from ancient Greece, Atlantis was a powerful civilization that existed about 9,000 years before his time. That would place it roughly 12,000 years ago, matching your dating of these structures. Kethla looked up from her science station. Commander, That matches our carbon dating of the organic material we've detected in the ruins. Continue, SciFi said to the human historian. Plato described Atlantis as a highly advanced civilization, Professor Williams continued. They had incredible technology, beautiful cities, and powerful ships. But according to the story, they became too proud and aggressive. The gods destroyed them in a single day and night, sinking their entire continent beneath the sea. You're saying your ancestors wrote about this place? Asked Dr. Kethla. Not just wrote about it, said Dr. Martinez, one of the human archaeologists. Stories about a great civilization that was destroyed by flood exist in cultures all around our world. The biblical flood, the Epic of Gilgamesh, Hindu texts, Native American legends. Almost every ancient culture has some version of this story. SciFi felt his crystalline skin growing cold. Are you telling me that multiple human cultures independently recorded the same historical event? It appears that way, Dr. Chen said calmly. Though most modern humans assumed these were just myths and legends. This is impossible, SciFi muttered. Our surveys of human development show no signs of advanced civilization 12,000 years ago. Your species was barely using stone tools. Perhaps, Dr. Chen said quietly. Your surveys missed something important. The tension on the bridge was thick. SciFi's crew exchanged worried glances. If humans had possessed advanced technology 12,000 years ago, it meant the Galactic Council's entire understanding of human development was wrong. It meant they had completely underestimated this species. We need to see these structures up close, SciFi said finally. Prepare the deep-sea exploration vessel. The joint expedition descended through 2 miles of ocean water in a specially designed submarine. The Veltar technology allowed them to dive deeper than any human vessel could go alone. As they approached the ocean floor, their lights began to reveal the true scale of what lay beneath the waves. The city stretched beyond the range of their lights in every direction. Massive towers rose from the seafloor like frozen giants. Bridges connected buildings in graceful arcs that defied conventional engineering. And everywhere, there was evidence of technology that should not exist. Look at those power conduits, whispered the human deep-sea specialist. Dr. Park, they're still carrying energy after 12,000 years underwater. That's impossible with any materials we know. The architectural principles are fascinating, added Dr. Martinez. The weight distribution, the structural support systems, this is engineering far beyond what we see in any other ancient human civilization. As their submarine moved through the underwater streets of the ancient city, SciFi noticed something that made his anxiety grow worse. The design principles of the buildings looked familiar. Not human familiar. They looked like the advanced architecture used by some of the oldest species in the Galactic Council. Dr. Chen, he said slowly, these structural designs show knowledge of principles that most council species only discovered within the last few thousand years. How could ancient humans have known these things? I don't know, Commander, Dr. Chen replied, but her voice carried a strange tone that made SciFi study her face more carefully. Their submarine approached what appeared to be the city's center. Here, a massive dome rose from the ocean floor, easily a mile in diameter. Strange symbols covered its surface, and lights pulsed along geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Those symbols, Professor Williams said excitedly, they're similar to Proto-Indo-European writing, but far more advanced. If I'm reading this correctly, this building was some kind of library or data storage center. Can we get inside? SciFi asked. Dr. Park checked her equipment. The entrance appears to be sealed, but there's an airlock system. Incredibly, it seems to still be functional. As they approached the entrance, something unexpected happened. The ancient doors began to open on their own. Light spilled out from inside the dome, revealing corridors that looked like they had been built yesterday instead of thousands of years ago. The building is scanning us, Kethla reported, checking her instruments. It's using technology I don't recognize. It's recognizing us, Dr. Chen said quietly. What do you mean? SciFi demanded. The genetic scanners, Dr. Chen explained. They're detecting human DNA markers. The city is welcoming its children home. The submarine entered the ancient structure through an airlock that functioned perfectly despite its age. Inside, they found corridors filled with breathable atmosphere and comfortable temperature. The walls were covered with holographic displays showing star charts, mathematical formulas, and technological blueprints that made even the Veltar scientists gasp. Commander, Kethla whispered, Some of these star charts show detail of systems that we haven't even explored yet. And look at these energy conversion formulas. They're centuries ahead of our current understanding. Professor Williams stopped in front of a large holographic display. "This is a historical record," he said, his voice shaking with excitement. "It's showing the development of their civilization over thousands of years." The display showed ancient humans learning to harness energy in ways that the Galactic Council had never imagined. They built cities that floated in the sky. They created ships that could travel between stars. They developed technology that allowed them to observe distant worlds without leaving their own planet. "This can't be real," one of HFY's officers muttered. "If humans had this technology 12,000 years ago, where did it go? Why are they so primitive now?" Dr. Chen stood in front of another display, reading symbols that flowed across its surface like liquid light. Her expression was completely calm, but HFY noticed that she didn't look surprised by anything they were seeing. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, "you don't seem shocked by any of this." She turned to face him, and for the first time since he had met her, her expression was completely serious. "Commander," she said quietly, "I think we need to see what's in the Central Archive before anyone draws conclusions about what happened here." As they moved deeper into the ancient structure, HFY felt a growing sense of dread. The human woman was hiding something. The technology around them was far beyond anything that should exist on Earth, and somewhere in the back of his mind, a terrible thought was beginning to form. What if humans weren't the primitive species everyone thought they were? What if they had been hiding their true capabilities all along? The Central Archive of Atlantis was a chamber that took their breath away. The room stretched upward for hundreds of feet, filled with floating holographic displays that showed the history of the ancient civilization. In the center stood a massive crystal structure that pulsed with energy, connected to thousands of smaller crystals that lined the walls like stars. "The power source," Dr. Kethla whispered, her instruments going crazy as she tried to analyze what she was seeing. "Commander, this crystal is converting geothermal energy from the Earth's core into usable power with 98% efficiency. Our best conversion systems only achieve 60% efficiency." HFY stared at the crystal in disbelief. His own species had been developing energy conversion technology for thousands of years, and they had never achieved anything close to what these ancient humans had built. "How is this possible?" he asked. Dr. Park, the human deep-sea specialist, was studying the crystal with her own equipment. "The molecular structure is unlike anything in our periodic table," she said. "It's as if they found a way to create entirely new forms of matter." Professor Williams had found a control panel covered with symbols that seemed to shift and change as he looked at them. "I think this is a library system," he said. "If I can figure out how to activate it." He touched one of the symbols, and immediately the entire chamber came alive. The floating displays began showing detailed records of Atlantean civilization. The team watched in amazement as holographic scenes played out before them, showing the daily life of the ancient city. The Atlanteans looked human, but they moved with a grace and intelligence that seemed almost supernatural. They wore clothes that appeared to be made from solidified light. Their buildings grew from the ground like living things. Their ships moved through the air without any visible means of propulsion. "Look at their technology," Dr. Martinez said, pointing to one of the displays. "They're using what appears to be consciousness interface machinery. The operators are controlling complex systems with their thoughts alone." Kethla was furiously taking readings with her instruments. "Commander, the quantum resonance patterns I'm detecting suggest that their technology operates on principles we don't even have theories for. They found ways to manipulate matter at the subatomic level using mental focus." HFY felt his world shifting beneath his feet. Everything the Galactic Council knew about technological development was being challenged by what they were seeing. According to galactic science, consciousness interface technology was purely theoretical. Even the most advanced council species had never achieved anything like what these ancient humans had built. "Show me their astronomical records," Dr. Chen said to Professor Williams. Williams touched another symbol, and the chamber filled with star charts that made even HFY gasp. The charts showed not just Earth's solar system, but detailed maps of nearby star systems, including the home worlds of several Galactic Council species. "These charts show stellar positions from 12,000 years ago," Kethla reported. "But look at this. They have detailed information about planets that we only discovered 500 years ago. How could they have known about these worlds? The star charts continued to unfold, showing observation logs that documented the development of other species across the galaxy. The Atlanteans had been watching the Veltar civilization when they were still learning to work metal. They had observed the first spaceflights of species that now considered themselves ancient and wise. They were watching us, SciFi said quietly. 12,000 years ago, when we thought we were alone in the galaxy, they were already observing our homeworld. Dr. Chen stood in front of a display that showed Earth from space, but an Earth that looked very different from the current planet. Continents were arranged differently. The oceans were smaller, and floating in the atmosphere were massive cities that gleamed like jewels. They had orbital habitats, she said softly, sky cities that could house millions of people. And look at this. They had established colonies on other planets in our solar system. The displays showed Atlantean bases on Mars, mining operations on asteroids, and research stations on the moons of Jupiter. Their technology had allowed them to spread throughout the solar system with ease. Where are these bases now? SciFi demanded. Our surveys of your solar system show no traces of advanced technology. Before Dr. Chen could answer, Professor Williams activated another section of the archive. This display showed Atlantean scientists working with equipment that hurt to look at directly. The technology seemed to bend space around itself, creating effects that made reality appear unstable. Dimensional manipulation, Kethela whispered. They were experimenting with parallel dimensions, alternate realities. Commander, this is technology that our theoretical physicists say is impossible. The archive continued to reveal the scope of Atlantean achievements. They had developed medicine that could extend human life for centuries. They had created materials that could repair themselves. They had built ships that could travel between stars faster than anything the Galactic Council had ever imagined. But why? SciFi asked. Why develop all this technology just to live on one small planet? The answer came from another section of the archive. The displays showed Atlantean deep space monitoring stations detecting something terrible approaching from outside the galaxy. Something vast and dark that consumed entire star systems as it moved through space. They were preparing for a threat, Dr. Chen said, studying the images. Something was coming, and they knew about it long before it arrived. The images showed the approaching threat in detail. It was not a natural phenomenon. It was artificial, created by some intelligence that existed solely to consume and destroy. The Atlanteans had tracked its path across the galaxy for thousands of years, watching it devour civilization after civilization. The Void Devourers, Kethela whispered, her crystalline skin turning pale. Commander, these images match the ancient warnings in our oldest archives, the legends that most council species dismiss as mythology. SciFi stared at the display showing the approaching threat. The Void Devourers were supposed to be a myth, a scary story that ancient civilizations told to frighten their children. But here was proof that they were real, and that they had been approaching the galaxy for thousands of years. Show me what happened next, he ordered. The archive revealed the Atlanteans' desperate preparations. They had built weapons that could crack planets. They had created defensive systems that spanned entire solar systems. They had prepared for a war that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. But as the displays continued, they showed something unexpected. The Atlanteans had made a terrible discovery. The approaching threat was not just looking for resources to consume. It was specifically hunting for advanced civilizations. The more technology a species developed, the more attractive they became as targets. They realized that their own advancement was putting Earth in danger, Professor Williams said, reading the symbols that flowed across the displays. The more powerful they became, the more likely they were to be detected and destroyed. The final displays showed the Atlanteans making an impossible choice. To protect their world and their people, they would have to give up everything they had built. They would have to hide their technology, scatter their population, and pretend to be primitive. They sacrificed their civilization to save their species, Dr. Chen said quietly. SciFi felt a chill run through his body. Are you saying they deliberately regressed their technology? More than that, Dr. Chen replied. They created a deception that has lasted for 12,000 years. They made themselves appear primitive while secretly maintaining the knowledge and capability to defend against threats that could destroy the entire galaxy. As if summoned by their discussion, alarms began sounding throughout the Atlantean archive. The displays showed new information, energy signatures at the edge of Earth's solar system. Something massive was approaching, something that matched the void devourer patterns in the ancient warnings. "Commander," Kethla called out, panic in her voice. "I'm reading massive artificial constructs entering the outer system. The energy signatures match the descriptions in these archives exactly." HFY stared at the displays showing approaching ships that dwarfed entire planets. After 12,000 years, the threat that had forced Atlantis to hide was finally arriving. And Earth's only defense was a civilization that everyone believed was primitive and helpless. "Dr. Chen," he said slowly, "please tell me that humanity has more defenses than wooden spears and chemical rockets." Dr. Chen looked at him with an expression he had never seen before. For the first time since he had met her, she smiled with genuine warmth. "Commander," she said, "I think it's time you learned what humans have really been doing for the past 12,000 years." Dr. Chen walked to the central crystal and placed her hand on its surface. Immediately, the entire archive came alive with new energy. Displays that had been dark for thousands of years began glowing. The crystal itself grew brighter, pulsing with a rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat. "What are you doing?" HFY demanded, but his voice was quiet with awe rather than anger. "I'm waking up the Guardian system," Dr. Chen replied calmly. "It's been waiting for this moment for 12,000 years." Professor Williams was studying the newly activated displays with growing excitement. "These are personnel records," he said. "Sarah, look at this. The archive is showing the descendants of the original Atlanteans. It's been tracking human bloodlines for thousands of years." The displays showed family trees that stretched across continents and centuries. Names and faces appeared, showing how the survivors of Atlantis had spread across the world, hiding among primitive human tribes while secretly maintaining their knowledge and purpose. "My God," Dr. Martinez whispered. "Some of the most important figures in human history are on these lists. Scientists, leaders, explorers. They were all descendants of Atlantis working to guide human development from the shadows." Kethla was taking frantic readings from her instruments. "Commander, the genetic markers are clear. Dr. Chen and her team all show Atlantean ancestry. They're not just studying this place, they're its inheritors." HFY stared at the human woman who had seemed so simple and primitive just hours before. "You knew," he said. "You knew all along what we would find down here." "Not exactly," Dr. Chen said. "The knowledge has been passed down through generations, but much of it was hidden even from us. We knew that our ancestors had been advanced, and we knew that someday a threat would return. But we didn't know about Atlantis itself until you found it." The archive continued to reveal its secrets. The displays showed how the survivors of Atlantis had worked for thousands of years to rebuild their capabilities, while appearing primitive to outside observers. They had hidden advanced technology inside simple-looking devices. They had used their influence to guide human development along paths that would prepare for the eventual return of the void devourers. The Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, the Space Age, Professor Williams read from the displays. All of it was carefully guided by descendants of Atlantis. Humanity's technological development wasn't random. It was following a 12,000-year plan. HFY felt his understanding of reality crumbling around him. "Are you telling me that human civilization has been artificially controlled for thousands of years?" "Not controlled," Dr. Chen corrected. "Guided. Protected. The descendants of Atlantis have always worked to ensure that humanity would be ready when the threat returned, but without developing technology so advanced that we would attract attention before we were prepared to defend ourselves." The archive showed the careful balance that had been maintained. Advanced technology had been developed in secret, while the public face of human civilization remained primitive. Scientists who made discoveries too early had been quietly redirected. Governments that became too aggressive had been influenced toward peace. Always, the hidden guardians had worked to keep humanity safe while preparing for the ultimate test. "Show me what's happening now," HFY demanded. Dr. Chen touched the crystal again, and the displays shifted to show real-time information from across Earth's solar system. What they saw made even the experienced alien commander gasp in shock. The approaching void devourer ships were massive beyond imagination. Each one was larger than Earth's moon, covered with technology that seemed to absorb light itself. They moved through space like living things, leaving trails of destruction that stretched across star systems. But as the alien ships entered the outer reaches of Earth's solar system, they encountered something unexpected. What had appeared to be empty space began revealing hidden defenses. Massive weapons platforms uncloaked themselves from behind asteroids. Battle stations that had been disguised as space debris came online with energy signatures that dwarfed anything in the Galactic Council's arsenal. Impossible, Kethla whispered, staring at her instruments. Those weapon platforms are using technology centuries ahead of what humans should possess. Not ahead of what we should possess, Dr. Chen corrected. Ahead of what you thought we possessed. The displays showed the true scope of Earth's defenses. The asteroid belt was revealed to be a carefully constructed fortress system. The moons of Jupiter and Saturn were not natural satellites but artificial battle stations. Even Earth's own moon showed massive construction projects hidden beneath its surface. How long have you been building this? SciFi asked. 12,000 years, Dr. Chen replied simply. Every generation has added to the defenses. Every technological advance has been incorporated into the system. The descendants of Atlantis never forgot their purpose. The approaching Void Devourer ships seemed to sense the defensive systems coming online. They changed course, moving in patterns that showed they were far more intelligent than simple machines. These were not just weapons. They were thinking beings that existed only to consume and destroy. They're scanning our defenses, reported Dr. Park, watching the displays, trying to find weaknesses. Let them scan, Dr. Chen said calmly. They won't find what they're looking for. The archive showed why. The defensive systems had been designed using principles that the Void Devourers couldn't understand. Instead of building bigger weapons, the Atlanteans had focused on technology that could adapt and evolve. Their defenses learned from each attack, becoming stronger with every assault. Quantum adaptive technology, Kethla breathed. They've created weapons that rewrite themselves in real time. Commander, this is beyond theoretical. This is impossible. Not impossible, Dr. Chen said. Just very, very difficult. The first engagement began as they watched. The Void Devourer ships launched attacks that could crack planets, beams of energy that could boil oceans. But Earth's defenses absorbed the attacks and used the energy to power even stronger counterattacks. The hidden battle stations revealed weapons that seemed to violate the laws of physics. Energy beams that traveled faster than light. Projectiles that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Defensive shields that turned incoming attacks into harmless light. How are they doing this? SciFi demanded. The same way Atlantis survived for so long, Dr. Chen explained, by understanding that the greatest strength is not in overwhelming force but in the ability to adapt and survive no matter what you face. The battle raged through the outer solar system. The Void Devourer ships were powerful beyond imagination, but they had been designed to fight civilizations that used conventional technology. They had never encountered defenses that could learn and evolve faster than they could adapt. One by one, the attacking ships began to fall. Their own weapons were turned against them. Their energy was drained and used to power Earth's defenses. Within hours, ships that had taken thousands of years to build were reduced to drifting debris. But the archive showed that this was just the beginning. The defeated ships had been scouts testing Earth's defenses and sending information back to their masters. Somewhere in deep space, vastly more powerful forces were receiving data about humanity's capabilities. They know about us now, Dr. Chen said quietly. The secret that Atlantis kept for 12,000 years is finally revealed. Humanity can no longer hide. SciFi stared at the display showing the aftermath of the battle. Ships that could have destroyed his entire civilization had been defeated by weapons he didn't even understand. The primitive species that the Galactic Council had pitied and protected was revealing itself to be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. Dr. Chen, he said slowly. What happens now? She looked at him with eyes that seemed to carry the weight of thousands of years. Now, she said, humanity stops pretending to be weak. The Guardian system is fully active and the real war is about to begin. The question is, are you and the Galactic Council ready to learn what humans have really been capable of all along? The archive began displaying new information. Deployment orders going out to hidden human bases throughout the galaxy. Ships that had been disguised as primitive exploration vessels were shedding their false exteriors to reveal advanced warships. Space stations that had appeared to be simple research outposts were activating defensive systems that made the Void Devourer technology look primitive. Humanity's true face was finally being revealed, and HFY realized that everything he thought he knew about the galaxy was about to change forever. Dr. Chen reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device that looked like a simple communication tool. But as she activated it, the device began to change. Its surface flowed like liquid metal, expanding and reshaping itself into something that made HFY's instruments scream with energy readings. "What is that?" he demanded, stepping back instinctively. "A quantum key," Dr. Chen replied calmly. "Every descendant of Atlantis carries one. It's been waiting 12,000 years for activation." She pressed the device against the central crystal, and immediately the entire underwater city began to transform. The ancient walls became transparent, revealing technology that had been hidden beneath layers of camouflage. The crystal itself grew brighter, sending pulses of energy up through the ocean toward the surface. "Sarah," Professor Williams said, his voice filled with awe. "Look at the surface readings." The archive displays showed Earth from space, but now it looked completely different. Across every continent, structures were rising from the ground. Mountains opened up to reveal massive launch bays. Desert areas lifted up on hidden platforms, exposing cities that had been concealed for thousands of years. "My God," Dr. Martinez whispered. "It's everywhere. The entire planet is transforming." Kethla was frantically trying to process the readings from her instruments. "Commander, I'm detecting energy signatures from every major landmass on Earth. Whatever they've been hiding, it was hidden everywhere." The displays showed space elevators rising from locations around the globe. But these were not the simple cable systems that humans had supposedly built with Galactic Council assistance. These were massive structures that seemed to be made of crystallized energy, reaching up through Earth's atmosphere and into space itself. "Commander," Dr. Park said, checking her readings, "I'm detecting massive construction activity on Earth's moon. Structures are emerging from beneath the surface. The moon's surface was opening like a flower, revealing construction projects that dwarfed anything the Galactic Council had ever imagined. Launch bays large enough to house entire fleets, manufacturing facilities that could produce ships faster than most civilizations could design them. Defensive systems that made the recent battle with the Void Devourers look like a minor skirmish. "How long have you been building all of this?" HFY asked, his voice barely a whisper. "We never stopped building," Dr. Chen replied. "When Atlantis sank, its people didn't disappear. They went underground. Literally and figuratively. For 12,000 years, every generation has contributed to the great work." The archive showed the true scope of human civilization: hidden cities beneath every major mountain range, underground factories that had been producing advanced technology for thousands of years, secret bases on every planet and major asteroid in the solar system. "The Mars colonies," Professor Williams said, reading from the displays. "They're not the small research stations that humanity showed to the Council. They're manufacturing centers with populations in the millions." "The asteroid mining operations," Dr. Martinez added. "They're not mining for simple metals. They've been harvesting exotic matter and building materials that don't exist in nature." HFY stared at the displays showing the true extent of human space presence. What the Galactic Council had seen as primitive exploration was actually a massive construction project that spanned the entire solar system. Humans hadn't needed help to reach space. They had been there for thousands of years. "Your primitive rockets," he said slowly. "The ones that barely managed to reach your moon." "Theater," Dr. Chen said simply. "We needed to appear primitive while we prepared for this day. Every piece of technology we showed the Council was deliberately primitive versions of much more advanced systems." The space around Earth was filling with ships as the hidden fleets activated. These were not the crude vessels that humanity had presented to the Galactic Council. They were sleek, organic-looking craft that seemed to be alive. They moved through space with impossible grace, powered by energy sources that Kethla's instruments couldn't even identify. "Consciousness interface propulsion," Dr. Chen explained, noticing the alien scientists' confusion. "The ships respond to their pilots' thoughts. They're not just vehicles, they're extensions of the human mind." One of the largest ships approached their location. It was easily 10 times the size of HFY's survey vessel, but it moved with the agility of a small fighter. As it came closer, they could see through its transparent hull to the crew inside. The humans aboard looked different from the ones HFY had known. Taller, more graceful, with eyes that seemed to glow with inner light. The enhanced, Professor Williams said, seeing Zephai's expression. Not all humans chose to live on the surface in primitive conditions. Some remained below, continuing their development according to Atlantean principles. How many of you are there? Zephai asked. Surface humans number about 8 billion, Dr. Chen replied. Underground humans number about 12 billion, and that's just on Earth. The off-world colonies have their own populations. The implications hit Zephai like a physical blow. Humanity wasn't a young species struggling to develop technology. They were one of the largest and most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, and they had been hiding right under everyone's noses. The Galactic Council, he said. You made fools of us all. We protected you, Dr. Chen corrected gently. The Void Devourers hunt advanced civilizations. By appearing primitive, we kept their attention focused on us instead of species like yours. Every year that we remained hidden was another year for the rest of the galaxy to develop and grow stronger. The displays showed the approaching enemy forces. The initial scout fleet had been destroyed, but now the real Void Devourer armada was coming. Thousands of massive ships, each one capable of destroying entire star systems. They moved through space like a plague, consuming everything in their path. Can you defeat them? Zephai asked. Dr. Chen smiled, and for the first time, Zephai saw the true confidence that humanity had been hiding for so long. Commander, she said, we've had 12,000 years to prepare for this fight. We didn't just build weapons. We evolved specifically to face this threat. The enhanced humans you saw aren't just more intelligent and stronger than surface humans. They were designed to interface with technology that can manipulate reality itself. The battle began as they watched from the safety of the underwater archive. The Void Devourer fleet was massive beyond imagination, but as they entered Earth's solar system, they encountered defenses that had been built with a single purpose in mind. The asteroid belt revealed itself to be a massive weapons platform. Every rock had been hollowed out and filled with technology that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. As the enemy ships approached, space itself began to change around them. Their weapons stopped functioning. Their shields failed. Their ability to move through space was removed by weapons that altered the fundamental constants of reality. Quantum warfare, Keithla whispered. They're not just fighting the ships, they're fighting the physics that allow the ships to exist. The human fleet moved through the battle zone like dancers performing a choreographed routine. Each ship knew exactly where every other ship would be. They fought not as individual units, but as a single organism with 20,000 parts. Collective consciousness interface, Dr. Chen explained. The enhanced humans can link their minds together through quantum entanglement. In battle, they become a single intelligence operating thousands of bodies. The Void Devourer ships had never encountered anything like this. They had fought countless civilizations across the galaxy, always using the same tactics, overwhelming force and superior numbers. But they had never faced an enemy that could change the rules of reality to suit their needs. Within hours, the massive enemy fleet was reduced to drifting debris. Ships that had taken centuries to build were dismantled at the molecular level by weapons that treated matter like clay, to be reshaped at will. But even as the battle ended, the displays showed something else. The defeated fleet had been sending information back to its masters throughout the fight. Somewhere beyond the edge of the galaxy, intelligence is vastly more powerful than the scout forces were learning about humanity's capabilities. They know about us now, Dr. Chen said. The age of hiding is over. From now on, humanity will take its true place in the galaxy. Zephai looked at the human woman who had seemed so simple just hours before. What happens to the rest of us? To the Galactic Council? That depends, Dr. Chen replied, on whether you want to be our allies or whether you want to try to control us. The choice is yours, Commander, but you should know that the option of treating us as primitives is no longer available. The archive began displaying deployment orders to human forces throughout the galaxy. Hidden bases were revealing themselves on dozens of worlds. Ships that had been disguised as simple exploration vessels were activating advanced systems. Human colonies that had appeared to be struggling outposts were showing their true nature as advanced research centers. We've been watching over all of you for a very long time, Dr. Chen continued. We've prevented wars, guided technological development, and protected dozens of species from threats they never even knew existed. We'd like to continue that relationship,